Hey, what's up, everybody? BW here, Bearded Wanderer. Today, I'm going to be showing you a little bit about making and dehydrating some trail food. Sometimes it's easier, and you can save a little bit of time by buying some stuff, but you can save quite a bit of money by making it yourself if you happen to have a dehydrator and things. So today, what we're going to go through is my wife's recipe for chili, and the dehydration of that. So follow me on this. I'm hoping to get out and do a little trip in the next couple of weeks. So follow me on this, and yeah, should turn out good. All right, it's gonna be a slow cooker chili. It's a really simple recipe. There's nothing too fancy in it, and it dehydrates really, really well. So slow cooker, kind of an integral part of the situation. I'll be bringing her down after and putting her right there, and we'll cook it there. First thing you want to do, I'm gonna have to defrost this ground beef here, and you want to fry that stuff up, like brown it nicely, and you want to get it down into as little and as uniform of chunks as possible. I will go through this as I'm doing it, because dehydrating the ground beef is a pretty important part of it, so I'll go through that as I do it. The ingredients for this particular chili: 2 cans of tomato. This is a double batch for the record. 2 cans of tomato paste, 3 cans of dark red kidney beans, 8 cans of condensed tomato soup, 2 packages of taco seasoning, because that's the flavor I like in my chili. So these are the ingredients right here. I will go through putting it all together shortly. Alrighty. Way of technology. We have defrosted 2 pounds of ground beef in under 10 minutes. So what I'm doing right now, warming up the pan, and once it's warm, I'm going to take the ground beef. You know what? I'll do it right now. Take the ground beef, slap it in there like so, and yeah, I'm going to brown it up, so I will return when it's nice and browned up, and we will continue the process then, all right? Browning her up. You want to break it up into nice, uniform chunks, tiny little pieces, as small as you can get them, honestly. So I spend a lot of time over here while I'm browning it, just breaking everything up into small pieces. And the reason for that is when you dehydrate it, they call ground beef, when it's dehydrated, hikers commonly refer to it as gravel. It looks like gravel. And I'm sure if you tried to eat it before you rehydrated it, would taste a lot like gravel too. So it's about breaking it up nice and small. Another thing is I generally tend to use lean or extra lean ground beef. This is lean ground beef. There's still, as you can see here, pooling right in there. There is a little bit of fat happening in there. After I'm done browning it all up and it's all cooked, I'm going to put it into a strainer, and I'm going to rinse it off with some hot water. Get as much of that off of there as possible, and then I'm going to pat dry it. And the reason for that is if you leave the fat in the beef, it's going to go rancid while you've got it sitting in a dehydrator for 24 hours, turning it into gravel. So you want to make sure that it's all done completely, chopped up nice and small. This works a lot better, honestly, with fresh ground beef. Having to defrost it sometimes gets to be a pain, but fresh is really easy to break up. So that's the process here. We'll check back in once I have finished doing this. Ground beef, it is all broken up fairly uniformly, and it's in a colander. So what I'm going to do is turn on some turn the water on, let it get nice and hot, and then I'm going to run that over this until it's running nice and clear and that there's no fat coming off of it anymore, and then I'm going to pat dry it. So that's the exciting process of washing ground beef. You see the water, how it's coming out kind of brown? That's the fat that's coming off of it. It will start to run clear very shortly, and when that happens, you are done. Dump it onto a ShamWow or any kind of towel that you have after that's clean, and you just want to kind of pat dry. Get as much of the water off as you can. The water, having a little bit of water on it isn't going to hurt it, but it will, lengthen the time that it takes to dehydrate it. So try and get as much off as you can. All right, so here we are. We are at the dehydrator. What I'm going to do is take the 1/3 of the beef that I'm going to use for tonight's dinner. I'm going to put it in a container and stick it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to add it to the chili mix. The rest of it, I'm going to get onto these handy dandy little trays that we bought at, where do we get them? Lee Valley Tools. Yeah, Lee Valley Tools. They just happen to fit this dehydrator nicely, and I'm going to put the beef on that, because otherwise, as you can see, the holes that are on here, the beef will start falling through. It's just a waste. So it takes a little longer with the tray than having the meat or the air running right through, but it's worth the extra time to not lose a bunch of the food. So my hands are clean. What you want to do is put it on nice and uniform and nice and thin on each of the trays, and spread it out so that it's basically like a single layer of ground up beef. Yeah. You can hear Mama in the background there giving me handy dandy tips, and one of them was break up any big chunks. So any of the chunks that you missed, you can use your fingers and really break them up nice and small. Like I said, you kind of want it as small as possible. It'll dehydrate faster. This is already going to take probably 24 hours to do the beef, but we'll start it and then check back in the morning before I go to work, kind of thing, and see how it's doing. So yeah, we might have to do 2 trays of beef, which is fine because we've got 4 of the little trays. So we will do 2 of the beef, and then we'll start the chili in a couple of hours once it's actually done cooking. So just, you know, put it on there, spread it out a bit. Next, I'm leaving beef for dinner. That's part of the whole thing. And then we'll put the rest of the beef that we're using in here. The top tray. I might end up spreading it out a little bit and getting some from the bottom tray to spread out to the top. Okay, you want to do it nice and evenly. Like I said, break it up nice and small, and then fire up the dehydrator, put the lid on it, and walk away. Don't bother opening it. Just every so often you can check on it to make sure that it's going okay, and if you need to rotate the trays, you can do that as well. So that's what I'm doing right now, and we will check back in later when I am putting the chili on the other trays and adding that to the top part of it, all right? The red button, please. As you can see, we already have the rinsed chili, or yeah, the rinsed kidney beans are already in here. So now I'm going to start to add the other ingredients. I had originally said that we were going to use 8 cans of the tomato soup, but my wife advised me that I should probably cut it down to 6 because I'm using the tomato paste as a bit of a thickener. So we're going to add in 6 cans of tomato soup, use a spatula, get it all cleared out. Don't leave any stuck to the side of the can. Normally, I would add the ground beef right in while this stews all afternoon, but because we're eating a little bit of this for dinner, and I'm dehydrating all the rest of it. So what I'm going to do is just add in about 1/3 of the beef to what we take out later for dinner, and then I'm going to dehydrate all the rest of it and dehydrate the beef separately. Because you can always use ground beef with other meals when you're backpacking, and honestly, the chili will work well without the beef. If you've got like macaroni and cheese or something like that, it turns it into a chili mac. Yeah, so just add all of the ingredients to it. We're down to the tomato paste now. Acts as a bit of a thickener and adds a more, a slightly more actual tomato flavor to it versus just using tomato soup. So we'll get all that in there, and then there's one more fairly important ingredient that I will be adding to it as well. So you get all that stuff, and you start to just mix it all together. Inside the pot's fine. I mean, you can mix it in a bowl or something before you put it in here. Turn this on to high. We're going to turn it on high temperature because I do want it to cook a little faster. It seems pretty thin, but it will reduce a little bit as it cooks this afternoon. So we've mixed everything together. We keep mixing it now. The slightly secret ingredient that ain't so secret. A little bit of sriracha chili sauce. What's that bloody noise? Huh. Throw a little bit of sriracha in there. Give it a little bit of a kick. Oh yeah, that's the gem right there. And the last thing that will be added to it is the taco seasoning. So that's it. Like I said, all the ingredients that you add in, take your time, mix it all up together. It's going to stew for several hours by itself, and as I said before, I would normally add the beef in directly, but we're just going to hold off on that because of the dehydration process. There's more going on here than just making dinner, so I am going to leave it out on the towel, which is kind of a weird place to leave it, and we'll check back in later once this is all cooked up and I'm starting to spoon it out onto the trays. All right, and we're back. There's the ground beef. It's been dehydrating about 6 hours now. It's starting to look like gravel. There are some pieces that aren't dehydrated yet. I had started off with it on 2 trays, and I've since kind of married it onto 1 tray to let it finish dehydrating. I'm going to leave that on the bottom level and start putting the other trays on here. So you can see I've already done one up. Put it on a single layer. Ladle it on carefully. While I was doing the tray underneath, it overflowed like it's about to here, again into the center. So you just got to be careful. So yeah, you just ladle it on and spread it out so that, you know, the beans aren't piled on top of each other, and it'll dehydrate a lot like if you do like a fruit leather. And so I'm going to let this, I'm going to keep spooning it out overnight, or I'm going to spoon it out rather, and I'm going to let it dehydrate overnight, and we'll check in the morning before I go to work, and yeah, let it keep going. I let the stuff dehydrate overnight. This is the ground beef, now gravel, and you can see, dried out. It's good stuff. The chili is still going, but I will go and I'll let that do its thing while I go to work today, and I'll check on it tonight. Yeah, I just got out of bed. It's been about 42 hours or so that it has been on the dehydrator. As you can see, it's dried out. It's almost like chili leather. And because we went through and flipped over all of it using a knife and kind of, you know, pried it off, now it's dry all the way through. So what I'm going to do is put that into a plastic bag, and I'm going to stick it into the refrigerator, and I'm going to deal with the portioning of it when I get home. Now, the total amount of calories for the entire batch was 3,140 calories. So when I get home, I'm also going to weigh it up, and then I'll inform you how many calories per ounce this stuff is going to cost. All right, so we'll talk later. All right, so I showed you this morning before I left for work that the chili had completely dehydrated. So I got home and I've weighed it up, and I've done a little bit of math. So here is the ground beef. There's 118 grams of that, and altogether 679 grams of chili. We ate about a quarter of the chili when we had our dinner the other day. So what that left us with calorie-wise was 2,355 calories. And 24¼ ounces altogether. So the math checks out to be just about 100 calories an ounce. So it's definitely a viable option if you want to keep it light and you want to make it at home and take it as backpacking food, which her and I are going to this weekend when we visit the Queen Elizabeth II non-operational park for Sunday night. So I will see you folks then. Take care.